Hey, now it's your brother Marcus with another edition of the Elements of Inspiration Brother Marcus podcast. Today we're going to do a different type of show today. Of course, always inspirational, motivational, but we're going to do a show with an anonymous guest. How about that? Can we do that? And because this guest has been through a lot of different things and has learned a lot of different things and has some stories to definitely tell. And we're not putting any names out there. We'll just go ahead and do this show because I believe it's going to be beneficial for somebody somewhere that might be going through something. But first and foremost, we're going to talk to our guest, and I'm going to say, hey, Miss Anonymous, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad that you can make it today.
Yes, I'm glad to be here.
All right. And I know that you have a lot going on, and I'm glad that you took the time to be with us today.
Yeah, I do. But, anything for you, my brother.
That's funny. All right. So now we're going to get right down into it. Normally I ask everybody where they were born and things of that nature. So because you're anonymous, I don't want to ask too many questions, probing questions that would allow people to say, oh, I know, this person, whether you're a major celebrity or someone who is, trying to be very quiet about their celebritism. I just made that word up, y'all. So because I'm honoring the guest, I won't ask where were you born, okay? But do you live in, Los Angeles, Jersey, Philly, Texas? Where are you from?
I'm Jersey.
You're from Jersey? Okay, good. A lot of family in Jersey?
Yeah, mostly. Yeah.
Mostly in Jersey. Okay. And so let's get right down to it because you always have been a very direct person since I've known you. Nothing's ever been fluffy, fake, phony. It's always been you say what you mean and you mean what you say. So can we talk about relationships?
Sure, of course.
Okay. Do you date often?
I do.
You do?
Well, now I do.
Now you do. Okay. Well, you're saying now you do. So that leads me to believe that you were in a relationship.
Yeah, I was once married.
You were once married. For how many years?
I'm gonna say about 23 years. I was married.
23. Now that's a lot of time to be married to somebody. Yeah. What was it like when you first met the person that you were married to?
So I knew him when I was younger. I want to say around 11, I want to say.
You were kids, like puppy love?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a sibling of mine dated his brother, so that's how we met.
Oh.
Yeah. So then from there, it kind of grew like a little crush. And from there, I would say we dated like in high school. And then from high school, we got married and stuff.
Wow. So that's where everything started to shift and change. So what was it like being can I say a teenage wife? Is that?
Well, I was like 21.
Oh, yeah. So you were like a couple years out of your teens.
But still, it was still young though.
Yeah, it was still young. You were mature, but yet your age was young, but you were mature.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
Safe way to say it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what was that like when you first met each other? Like, was it like, wow, this is a cool person,
It was me just enthralled with who he was as a person. We shared a lot of the same things musically, church things we were both into. So I think that for me, it was like, this is my person,
Yeah.
That's what I fell in love with, that ideology of that.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of like, being in love, is this a concept that you picked up, like, from your mom? Let's use your mom and dad, for example. Were your mother and your father married for years, or was just like they were? No. So you kind of maybe desired that
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. I never came from a family where my mom and my dad was married. They were actually separated in different places of the earth. So, world rather.
I know the earth. You're right.
So, I grew up with my mother. And my sisters, and that's pretty much it. So I didn't see love from her perspective, but I did see love in various things growing up, and that was just something I always envied and wanted. Right. So I just, that was my heart's desire. And then after I got to know God and stuff, that was it grew even more,
right.
to want to know what a husband is, have a husband, to be married, and all of that stuff. So, every little girl always dreams to like, be married, have kids.
And all that good stuff.
So that was me. I was that girl.
And you were that girl, and you were still that girl. You got married at 21, being that girl.
Yeah.
But that girl one day became a woman. Now, what was it like being this, young girl, aka developing into a young woman who loves God? Girls love guys, women love God. And so how was that for you, saying, okay, I'm transitioning from being a girl to being a woman?
Yeah.
How was that transition?
That was interesting because at first you don't know what you want, what you like, what you need. And especially in the space of being a wife, I was trying to figure a lot of things out, and once I figured it out, then it was okay for me. And I'm a quick learner. So it didn't take me long to really like get in my niche of being a wife and stuff. And my focus was, okay, this is what I want. And I want to be pleasing unto my husband. I want to be pleasing unto God. I want to, have a successful marriage, and eventually have children and all of those things. So that was my mindset. I didn't know how to cook.
Okay. Think about it. What 21-year-old knows how to cook? You know what I mean? Like, think about it.
So I had to learn. I put myself in a position to watch a lot of cooking shows. Things like that. That's how I learned how to cook. And I just grew from there. You know, and just try to be the best person that I could be in my marriage.
And I think that's what most people strive for, or should strive for, to be the best that they can be in their marriage. So now, you learn how to cook and all these great things. What was it like in the beginning, like when you would cook meals and you could not cook? Did you tell them, hey, babe, I can't cook, so we winging it? Or you just kind of said, like, I'm just going to figure it out?
Well, that's why it's a good old thing called a telephone. Because, you can order.
Yeah, right.
So I would just order, for the most part. And the things that I did know how to cook, I just kind of built from there. But other than that, we ordered a lot. I was a professional orderer, ordering my meals and stuff like that. So, yeah.
But, it's funny because I've known you, for a very long time.
Yeah.
And, always classy, always nice.
Thank you.
Never mean, never rude, never malicious. But, your buttons, do get pushed, along the way. So now that I know you've been married, any children? Do you have any children?
I do. I have one daughter.
Okay. Now I know, but I'm just doing it for the people.
Yeah,
so
that's fine.
you have a daughter. We won't say any names.
Right.
Again, we are talking on the Elements of Inspiration, Brother Marcus podcast with Miss Anonymous. Okay. We're not pointing any fingers at anybody. But we just like to, talk about your story. So what changed for you now that, you have a daughter and you have a husband? Were you guys like, heavy into church, like, singing, a minister, or did you do anything in church?
Yeah, a lot, actually. He was, in the ministry. I was in the ministry as well. I sang, he preached, and, we were heavy. Anywhere that I could help in the church, I did, rather serving, ushering, whatever. We always just worked together in that department.
A dynamic church duo.
Yeah, pretty much.
And okay. So now, how can I put this? When was there a shift in the relationship? Like before the baby, after the baby?
It was before.
Okay.
It was before our daughter, and I struggled a lot to work as a team.
You struggled a lot working as a team?
With him, yeah. Not I did. It was more or less me trying to get teamwork from him.
Oh, gotcha.
He was very, enthused and had a lot of zeal for ministry and wanting to be in that field, or that in that ministry or whatever. And it's almost as if he forgot he was a husband too.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was like, okay, in that early stage, you don't know how to like support, to not want to put your desire or what you need from your husband out there, because I'm new to marriage. Right. So I didn't really say much. You know? I just went along with the support and just to support him in whatever he desired and wanted, and stuff like that.
Now, did you feel like during this time, because I know what it's like to be, young and in ministry, and sometimes you're doing so much for the church, for the people, for the body, for the worship team, whatever it is, the traveling and all of those things. And they sometimes will take precedence over family. Not saying that that's the right way to do things, but it happens. And if we don't catch it early enough, you know what I mean? Then it becomes the church or the ministry becomes the burden instead of it being being what it's supposed to be. So with you, were there any like mothers of the church that you could go to at that particular time, or was it just more like, let me just watch and be silent? Like, most people are told to do, or asked to do, be quiet and go with the flow. Did you feel that in the beginning?
So, I'm for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I tell the truth, right?
Oh, yeah, the truth
Okay.
and nothing but the truth.
So, no, actually it didn't happen to me. I did reach out to some of my, the people in my church that happened to be, in the ministry, the leaders and different things of that nature. And I didn't get really much success with that. I was wanting the advice, wanting the, to find out how can I maneuver well as a wife in my marriage. But it was just like they were focused more on ministry. Let's just worry about these things than what you're talking about, because I just felt really insignificant at that time, at that point. So it wasn't my like innate first thought to go and talk to anybody else, because after that experience, I was just like, oh no.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just keep this to myself.
Yeah.
So
Did you feel like you were like the only, at that time, did you feel like, man, I'm like the only person that's going through this? Did you feel?
Yeah, in a sense. Yeah. I suffered in silence pretty much.
That's the word.
And that's exactly what happened to me. And no matter if I wanted to reach out or talk to anybody, it just wasn't successful enough. It didn't happen. It just didn't happen. So I ended up dealing with a lot of things by myself.
Did you feel like you were becoming an outsider in the
Absolutely.
church? Yeah,
absolutely.
Now, was this like a family church or was it a church that you guys were brought into or grew up in together? Like, I'm just trying to understand the dynamics.
Yeah, no, we actually was part of this church first, and then he came alongside with me because his father has a church of his own. So he actually came to me. We actually started going to the same church together, and
everything changed. All right, so now
they loved him though.
Yeah, but what about you? Did they love you?
I didn't feel the same. It wasn't the same. No, it wasn't the same. I think I was tolerated.
The pretty girl blues, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Sometimes I always tell folks, you can't help who you are.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
If you're a great support, and again, I don't know him personally, and again, I have nothing to say about him. But did you ever feel not protected?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was never really protected at all.
Wow. And that's kind of like one of the first lines of defense in a relationship is you want to feel protected and defended.
Right. Yeah.
So it made you feel like an outsider when you weren't defended.
Absolutely. He was more concerned about his position in the church rather than to be a protector for his wife. And it's like the balance factor wasn't there.
Yeah. So that's like where the shift kind of came in.
Yeah.
And so what happened in the years to come? Like, I know that, he's still doing ministry. I'm sure you're still doing ministry. Did you guys start growing apart?
Absolutely.
At some point?
We definitely grew apart. And it happened slowly because I think I was the one keeping the marriage together because of my desire. I didn't want to fail as a wife, and I didn't want to leave my husband because of something like this that I know that could be, fixed and changed, and we can work on it and get better. But unfortunately, it wasn't we didn't have a dual mindset about it. It was just him being great, doing him in ministry, and me just trying to keep everything together. And you get overloaded, you get burnt out.
Yeah.
With that kind of stuff, and that's what happened with me. I just got really burnt out trying to take care of everything by myself and not having my partner and my husband there with me. Yeah. That's
tough. A lot of first ladies who are with ministers, pastors, people that are really busy in church, they often feel the way you feel. Yeah. So what happened that made you guys, because I know you did say you were married, what happened that changed that being we're married to we're married? Like,
yeah, I divorced him.
Yeah.
Simple.
Well, what caused that to what caused that to happen? Did you try to go to counseling?
Yeah, we did. We did like 2 years of counseling.
2 years? Wow.
Yeah.
So what made you say we need to get counseling? Was there anybody like being, doing things outside of the marriage after a while, or was it like a break where you guys separated?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Okay,
yeah, because we separated.
Some time ago.
Yeah, and then so in that separation time, we were going to counseling.
Oh, okay, to kind of try to see if you can fix what was broken. Yeah. Now, what were some of the things that were actually broken? Because I don't want to blame it on the ministry and people think the ministry is the problem. It's sometimes the mindset of the people, right? You think maybe it's the mindset of
absolutely. Okay. It was a bunch of things. It was neglect happening a lot, a lack of communication, time. We're really big on love languages that weren't being met. It was financial issues. So much stuff. And then you got the element of ministry and stuff like that.
Right, which, But the one thing that I can probably stand up and say for the both of you is one thing that didn't lack is the care for the child.
Absolutely. Well, she came later on now. She's more newer in the mix now than before. But it was more of that stuff happening.
Right.
A longer, track record of that happening than actually parenting. Because the parent, even in parenting, because like when something is broken and then you bring kids in it, people think that kids will mend things, but it really didn't. It actually made it break more. Right. So I think that's what kind of happened. It at the point it's like, okay, this is just me and you. And now when you have to factor in children, it's like, we can't be like this.
We got to do something.
Yeah, we got to fix this problem now. And if it's not going to be fixed after 2 years of counseling, then it's like, okay,
where do we go from here?
Yeah, goodbye.
All right. Now, who was the first? Now, did he step out or did you step out? Like, what made you say, oh, you know what? You got to leave me, or I got to leave you. Like, what was that breaking point?
It was me. Everything was me. I had to set him
Everything
down.
was you in terms of what he thought, or you're saying it was me? Yes.
No, okay. I
want to make sure
it was
clear.
me. It was me making the choice to leave and sitting him down and telling him why and letting him know, like, okay, well, we tried this. It's not working. I'm done.
How did he receive what you were saying when you were like, hey?
Well, no, he didn't like it. He's really big about saving face, right? So he cares a lot about what people think and feel. He's a very codependent person, So, so for him, it was just like, I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want people to, see us fail and different things of that nature. Instead of be more concerned about
your feelings.
Yeah.
It's sometimes we people we look at ministry or as it covers a lot of things, and people hide behind the ministry.
Yes, they do.
But now it's like you're saying, look, I love God. I know you love God. Let's get us back on track. Not saying forget the ministry, but could you back up a little bit? Let's fix what we have, because that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
That you and like I said, I know you're pretty level-headed, and when I've seen you do some posts, I care about you enough to be like, yo, what is you doing?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Take that down. And me and you, we went back and forth a little bit. But there was mutual respect. Absolutely. Because I'm like, you're still a woman of God. You're still a lady. We're not doing that, sis. Yeah. And I appreciate that you know how to accept what I was saying. Absolutely. Because if the shoe was on the other foot, you would have probably done more to me. Like, like, yo, bro, and you would have went in.
Absolutely.
And so we try to save each other from people getting the wrong impression of who we really are.
Right.
Because you could do things in anger, but that's not really who you are.
But you know what's funny though? It's a lot of people, based upon my relationship, automatically felt like I was the better person.
The worst,
the worst person in the relationship. So I never really got a fighting fair chance to really for people to really get to know me,
because you kept things in, and that's when, like I said, why I had to bring you on here, because there's a lot of people that are in relationships, or the relationships become situationships.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and you're protecting his integrity and everything else. But when the kitchen got hot, Mama got tired.
Yeah.
And,
and said bye-bye.
And said bye-bye. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry. Like, it's the truth, because after a while, it's like, how much more heartbreak and disappointment can a person take? After a while. And I tried. I held on for very long, 23 years.
Yeah, 23 years is a long
23
time.
years of marriage. After a while, I'm just like, I can't do it no more.
And how many of those years could you say you were honestly happy?
I would say maybe about 3.
Wow. And that would be the first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it was new and the honeymoon phase and all of that. But then there was the business part of it, the real life issues, the growing up.
And then there was a discovery in the beginning that I wasn't
What's
aware
the discovery?
of.
Let's talk about it. I mean, you can.
Yeah, sure.
Again, before we talk about the discovery, everybody, you're tuned into the Elements of Inspiration, Brother Marcus podcast, as we are talking with Miss Anonymous. And we're talking about her marriage, her relationship, and her situationship. So now we're getting into the part of what really was the turning point, the discovery early on in the marriage.
So in the beginning of our marriage, I had there was a discovery of infidelity, and it's funny because it was the infidelity while we were dating, and it wasn't even like we were married though. Like he had a little cheating moment while we were dating, but I never knew it. I never.
When did you find out?
I found out after we got married and we were living together, and mail was coming to my house.
Mail, like letters mail, or a mail, like a guy mail?
Like letters mail.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure. Because when you say infidelity, everybody's talking like down low, and I just want to be very clear.
No, it was mail, like
so
paper,
letters,
envelope mail.
Envelope mail coming to the house.
Yeah, and it ended up being like some kind of citation for him because he was soliciting prostitution.
Okay. That's a joke. I'm sure she's joking, right? Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm so serious.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was doing it while we were dating, so I ended up getting married to him without any knowledge of that. So once that happened, I was shocked, and it took me a year to kind of like come down off of it. But then I forgave him.
Yeah, you wanted to get through it, and you didn't want to leave him alone and saying, "Hey, man, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Let's just listen. I'm with you." So that takes a lot, because most women would have been gone. You know what I mean? Most people would have been,
And it was funny because the love I had for him was even more than after that.
Why is that?
I don't know. I call it God. I have no clue, but I felt so much more in love with him after that. After I got over that and I forgave him, it was just like I just loved him more. And I think those probably like the 3 years, I want to say consecutive years, where it was just like wonderful.
Yeah,
it was really
but then something happened. And
I woke up and I realized my husband is not my husband. He's more or less like my roommate. We're doing life together, and that's it. It's not. It doesn't have the meaning of love, trust, and all of those things. So,
so he was doing what he wanted to do. After a while, you just kind of was like, okay, whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Pretty much.
So he started it, basically.
Yeah.
And who finished it?
Me.
Okay. Now, again, we're not saying that you're right, or I'm not here to say right or wrong. We all grown folks. And we know what we're doing that's right and wrong. And so with you guys going through that, because that right there would have took a lot of people out, just the whole thing. So obviously he got through that. That's behind him now, that portion of being a solicitor or being solicited or whatever. I don't know. I'm just saying, So now you're moving forward in life, and so now you guys going to counseling after a period of time. It didn't work. You were living in separate places while counseling was going on. what made you say this counseling is not good, or what made him say that?
Well, because some of the things I realized in counseling, he just wasn't in a place to really understand. And it's like a lot of our conversation was focused on things that had nothing to do with our relationship and our marriage. It was just more or less his personal opinions about what he wanted to happen or how he wanted to control my life. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with how we need to be better together.
Right.
Differ from individual, you know?
Yeah.
So he just didn't want to come out of that. And it was just like bumping your head up against the wall.
Wow.
You know,
wow.
and after a while, it's just like, you know, so it's a lost cause to me. So I just was like, yeah, no.
He said, yeah, no. Wow.
Yeah.
Does he have any more children with anyone else? Or?
No.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
something did happen to him, you know, with him and his new girlfriend.
Oh, well.
And it's wonderful. I'm happy for him.
Okay. So that means someone is on the way.
I don't know if they're pregnant, but I know they got engaged.
Oh, so how did that make you feel?
I'm happy. I'm so happy. And God knows my heart. Because I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Right.
It's not an issue for me anymore. So I'm at peace.
Right. Was there a time where and I'm going to assume like during the counseling period, where while you guys were getting counseling, was he seeing someone, or were you seeing somebody, but it wasn't like totally serious, but just kind of like, you know, I want to go out and I want to, you know, was it that kind of thing? Or
in the counseling phase, no. I didn't start seeing people until like officially seeing people until my divorce was final. But there were guys that were interested in me that I talked to and different things of that nature. Had a couple of people who were interested in me, but you know, being the fact that we were I was in the space of being separated and I wasn't fully divorced yet.
Yeah.
So I never really fully pursued, or nobody really fully pursued
Right.
me. I didn't allow that. And I don't think he was either.
Right.
I think he was, you know, maintaining singlehood. But it was interesting how right after.
That's okay. It was
right after.
It was interesting how right after, I guess, counseling, I suppose. Or, oh, okay.
Right after our divorce,
Mm-hmm.
he immediately went on to dating sites, started dating.
Wow. And how do you know that?
Oh, so
Minding your business? Are you a detective?
no,
Are you a
I
detective?
wasn't. I was minding
Are
my
you
business.
a detective?
No, sir.
Okay.
So I had he called me and he was like, I need you to watch our daughter. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'm like, I don't need to watch my daughter. That's my daughter. So just, you know, bring her over. And so I'm just like, oh, okay. So he comes to the house. It's like a regular day.
Right.
So he comes to the house. He's like dressed up to the nine. Like nice. I was like, oh, okay. Where you going to church? He's like, no. I was like, oh, okay. Where you going? He didn't want to tell me. He was just like, mind your business. I was like, oh, excuse me, my bad. I said, oh, you must have a date then. And then he was just like, well, you know, something like that. So he ended up telling me, you know, he had a date. And I'm just like, oh, the ink ain't even fully dry off our divorce yet.
Wow.
Like, dang, that was quick. But I said, all right, go ahead and enjoy yourself. Have fun. Be nice. Make sure you come on time. Bring her some flowers. You know, all of the, coach them a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
There you
Where
go.
you drop the ball here, I want you to do better over there.
Period.
All right. Period. All right.
So yeah, so he went on his date, and comes to find out, I guess the girl was ratchet or whatever, so he didn't really like her like that. And then it was just so forth and so on. You know?
Wow. And then now he's with somebody and got engaged.
After a year, I think our divorce was final June last year.
Wow. And then immediately after that, wow.
He worked fast.
Hey. Are you guys the same age?
He's like a year or two older than me.
Oh, pretty much the same age. Okay, got
But I look better.
Well, you definitely don't look like a man.
Oh, thank you so very much. I appreciate that.
Wow. So what would you say to young women who, you know, are like all giddy, you know, like they're meeting somebody and they're, let's say like they're 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old range. What would you tell them?
Take your time. Take your time. I know your feelings is going to overtake you. You're going to be so enthralled with the guy, especially if he's somebody you dream of or he has all the things on your list and on your boxes. You know, he checks off your boxes. But take your time. Take your time. Get to know the person. You know, make sure that the values that you have within yourself that he can match, you know, as close to as possible, because that stuff matters in the future. You know, you can have fun all you want to, but then if we get together in the future and you don't know how to pay no bills, or you don't know how to, you know, spend time or whatever the case may be, it's like, okay,
it's going to be a big problem.
Yeah, you
and
know,
I think that's some of the things that we need to teach our young folks too. You know, be careful who you pick and choose in the early beginnings. I try to often say, hey, just hang out, be friends, you know, for a while and see how they act and how they function, see what their family and background is like. Yeah. Because some things could be hereditary in their family and you never know that it might show up in a situation that you guys are in. Especially, you know, how people save and work and do things, credit, all of these things are factors. And again, we're not taking any shots at anybody.
No, absolutely.
This is just general. Because I believe that everybody needs an opportunity to get it together, and you've given that opportunity for him to get it together and for you to get it together.
Absolutely.
Because you never came on this show talking about I was perfect and I did.
Absolutely
you've made your mistakes along the way, and we're not trying to dig up any of that. But we know it takes two, as they say, two to tango. And you tangoed and you got out of that.
Yeah.
And so, how are you feeling today about being single?
I don't like being single.
Okay.
I don't. It's too many fish. I don't like that. It's plenty of fish, and I don't like that. Yeah. I like to be a wife. I really do. I found out. You know what's interesting? I found out I like to be a wife because I'm single. That's what's interesting. Me being single made me realize I like being a wife.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
But sometimes it takes, you to miss something or be away from something to realize that's really what I want.
I like to take care of my family. I like to, come home to one person.
Yeah.
I like to do all of those things. And, the grown-up stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And again, God will provide, as we say,
I hope so. I'm waiting I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
Well, and I think that's the best thing. And the key, if I can tell you anything, I mean, you grown and everything, but Miss Anonymous, he that findeth, let him find you. Yeah. You know absolutely. What I mean? And be careful about who's, looking at you and talking about, hey, girl, God told me. You probably heard that a lot of times.
Yeah, because if he ain't tell me, then how we not... Ain't no touching and agreeing nowhere.
There you go. Well, all right, everybody. We got down with Mrs. Anonymous. And we talked a little bit about relationships. We didn't want to go too deep, but we're just kind of, the moral of the story today is, pick and choose wisely. Be prayed up. Absolutely. And, when you're young, be careful, right? And make sure that you can see that the person can take care of things and they can be faithful and all of these things. Yeah, none of us are perfect in life. Right. We can all attest to that. But you want somebody that is willing to look at themselves and say, hey, I'm wrong or I made a mistake. Let's fix it. Let's get it right. And you seem to have done all of that. Yeah. The counseling, the years of being married, 23 years. Yeah. And how is your daughter faring out?
At first it was oblivious to her because she was younger. But then now she's getting older, so she's realizing that the difference, because we have separate homes and stuff. So, because sometimes me and her father's communication ain't that great.
Right.
I will say that much, and it's not all him.
At least you're honest.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Right. But so I think she's okay because we have a good co-parenting going on for right now. So I would say I think she's okay. If she ever needs to express how she feels, she knows she does have that option to do. So
yeah, and you seem like you guys have a close relationship, you and your daughter.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, one of the best relationships is a mother and daughter, and also a father and his daughter as well.
They're very close too. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Well, all right, everybody. We have taken some time out today to talk about relationships with Miss Anonymous. And I ask people they want to give any shout outs to anybody, but we won't do that because we're not trying to allow anybody to know who this celebrity, excuse me. we can't let that out the bag either. But stay close, everybody. As I say on the radio, don't touch that dial. But since we're doing a podcast, don't touch that podcast. More inspirational podcasts coming up on the Elements of Inspiration podcast. We'll be right back. Stay close.